It's time for the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. It's time for The Game on ESPN 1400. For the next 2 hours, we'll get an in-depth look at local sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region, and hear from the coaches and players involved in the game. We'll also analyze the college and pro sports scene across the region and dive into the biggest national stories. Now, let's get to the game and join your host, Scott Nason.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to The Game on ESPN 1400, also heard online at thegamesportshow.com. As the man said, my name is Scott Nason, broadcasting from the ESPN 1400 studios here in a, well, not so rainy Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, as we had rain and thunderstorms, which swept through the area most of the afternoon, but it's gone now, thankfully, as we have enough rain out there, and we have enough green grass as well. Joined in studio by broadcast engineer Alyssa Bradley, helping us out once again, and joined on the phone by co-host of The Game, also host of The Game in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Dave McCaig, joining us via telephone. Dave, how you doing on this Monday night, sir?
Well, I managed to stay stay dry. I came in from work and just currently getting home from work after a busy day. I'm doing well. Otherwise, it's a Monday. Scotty, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Dave. Let's go through our guest list tonight. Coming up at 6:15, we have Soo High head football coach Scott Menard joining us in studio about the Blue Devils' big victory on Saturday over Algoma Heights. 6:45, we'll have Rob Gallanger, the head coach of the Lake Superior State University cross-country team, joining us, and then Butch Davis from Butch On Sports will join us during the top of the second hour. We're hoping to be joined by EJ Russell. If not, Dave McCaig will be here in studio by then, as he'll be joining us for the round table. Dave, before we get to the local sports, and we have tons to cover, want to have a couple condolences, and I know you have one as well, Dave. Want to give our thoughts and prayers to the Devono and Suggett family. We lost two big sporting legends, really, in this area last week. Soo High head coach Fred Devono, former coach, winning the state championships in 1984 and 1989, as well as, one of the first Lake Superior State college hockey coaches back in the day. And Red Suggett, very involved in the world of sports from Rudyard. Actually was born in Brimley, involved with baseball, football, and so many things. And both those gentlemen affected so many individuals, generations of individuals here in the Eastern Upper Peninsula. And so our thoughts and prayers go out to both of those families. And Dave, I know you have one as well tonight.
Definitely, yes. I won't get into the specifics. I just learned news on Saturday that a friend of mine that I played slow pitch and hardball with and against, Gus Stocco, also a listener of the Game Sports Show, listener of us, Scotty, passed away on Friday, very suddenly, obviously, and unexpectedly. So my condolences out to the Stocco family, a lot of Gus's close friends, and I know it really hit the Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario community hard because you're such a great guy, such a guy who provides smiles on everyone's faces, always great to talk to. And he was somebody that I was pretty familiar with seeing week to week, as he was a border guard at the Sault Ste. Marie border here. So I used to see him through my travels all the time. So he'll be very highly missed for sure. And I definitely shed a few tears on Saturday for him. It was very unexpected. So my condolences out to the Stocco family.
Absolutely.
and to his wife and his two children as well.
Yeah, sad news there, Dave, and thank you for sharing that. Let's get to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, and we start off with local sports. We're going to start off hockey tonight, and Dave, lots going on in the world of hockey on both sides of the border. Let's start out with one of our favorite leagues, the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League, covering the Soo Eagles and the Soo Thunderbirds. Boy, tough week for both teams. Eagles had just one game on Wednesday in a game you heard right here on ESPN 1400. The Soo Eagles lost to a very tough Rayside Balfour team by the score of 2-1. Dave, the goaltending of David Bowen, again, the difference, making 39 saves. Eagles goaltender Shane Brancato, he played well, giving up just making 30 shots, but Rayside, they're on quite a streak right now. I believe winners of 7 straight. And so the Eagles, just the one game this week, Dave, 2-3-1-1. and they will be back in action this Friday night right here on ESPN 1400 and at Puller Stadium as the Eagles will take on the Soo Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds, Dave, a tough trip up north to say the least, losing 3 games, 2 of them very close. The Thunderbirds would lose to the Hearst Lumberjacks Friday night by the score of 4-2, lose to the Cochrane Crunch on Saturday by the score of 2-1, and then yesterday afternoon, another 2-1 loss to the, 3-2 loss to the Timmins Rock. So Thunderbirds right now, Dave, 3-6-0-1. And again, they take on the Eagles Friday night at Puller Stadium. Not a good week for the Sioux teams.
Definitely not. You know what? I'm going to say it flat out right now. The Eagles are in a better position than the Thunderbirds are in my opinion, because, obviously give it or take a little bit to the less games, but, that was a tough road trip for the Thunderbirds. They were really hoped to get back on track this past weekend, and they were unable to do so in the win column, but they weren't games that they were blown out in at all, right? So there were games that they were in, and really, it was really good hockey there north here in the NOJHL. So I really think the Thunderbirds are having a rough start, and I know Coach John Parco and the staff, and including Trevor Zachary, the GM of the Thunderbirds, is in a situation now where you don't see this much with these Sioux Thunderbirds. They're 3 games under 500, being 3-6, 0-1. So it's definitely a tough start for the Birds. And you know what, the Eagles, I got to say that they're not on a great start either. That's why I say they're in a better position right now than the Birds, because they're not as far under 500, but still some tough slopes here. And David Bowen, I got to give a shout out to David Bowen in Sudbury. Sorry, I should say Rayside. I like to say Sudbury though, but a listener and friend of the show, Joe Bowen, his father, Leafs voice legend. David Bowen has been absolutely fantastic there with Rayside. He is stopping pucks. He's making his team win games, and he's the big reason why Rayside has had some good success to start out the season.
Well, speaking of that, Dave, a team that has had not just good but great success to start the season, the Soo Greyhounds, 4-0 on the young season as they won at home Friday night against Kitchener by the score of 5-2. Zach Trott had a goal and an assist for the Hounds, while Ryan O'Rourke, Rory Cairns, Cole McKay, Ryan Roth all scored. Ethan Taylor making 22 saves in net at the Gardens. Then the Greyhounds go on the road against Saginaw, a team that's loaded once again this year, a team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. And while it was the Soo Greyhounds with a lot of grit, reading the media reports on that game from both Saginaw and Sault Ste. Marie, a lot of grit with this team early as the Hounds had 6 different goal scorers again in their 6-4 win over the Saginaw Spirit. And so the Hounds 4-0 have a pair of games at home this weekend. Saturday night against the Sudbury Wolves, 7:07. We'll have the call on Rock 101 with Jerry Liscombe Jr. around 6:40. And then Sunday afternoon, 2:07 start against the Peterborough Petes. We'll have the call on Rock 101 about 1:35, 1:40. And so Dave, Hounds doing very well to start the season. I was at a loss for words. I don't think many people had them starting 4-0 right now.
You know what? I am not surprised, Scott, and I've said this. We've said this on the show as well, as I sit here lost for words too, in terms of trying to get the perfect words together without saying "I told you so" to everyone who doubted them, because the Soo Greyhounds right now are a good team to watch. They're very exciting. Jaromir Pitlick is looking fantastic. The goaltending is looking good for the Soo Greyhounds. Everything is just meshing greatly. They're here, and I really think that going to Saginaw and winning, Saginaw is a team that's a favorite in the Ontario Hockey League this year, and you know what? They're also missing some bodies there, as well as are the Greyhounds in terms of Barrett Hayton, especially being the notable guy who's out for the Greyhounds, who arguably might be a part of the Arizona Coyotes' start, it seems like, going into the National Hockey League season this week. So the Hounds have shown that they have some depth. They show that they play well together and that they mean business. And being 4-0, if anyone had doubts about this team, they shouldn't. Yes, we're only 4 games in. I get the rationale saying everyone pump the brakes, it's early, but it's crucial. And I can tell you, being a former player, a former coach in the NOJHL, mind you, I wasn't a player at any pro level, mind you, but knowing the game of hockey and sports, it is critical and imperative to have a great start to your season. Because if you have a slow start, the negative energy in the room is absolutely horrible. You have doubts right off the hop, and it's hard to bounce back. Teams have slumps midway throughout the year, or about 12, 15 games in, and we lose 3 or 4 in a row. It's better to lose those games and get into those slumps like near the quarter, or third or quarter of the way point of the season, because then you learn to overcome that as a team early. Having it have to happen right off the start would be a bad case for the Hounds, and me even saying that is not even relevant, because they are 4-0, and for them to start 4-0 is such a great momentum. Gaynor, and also just the chemistry in the locker room is going now, and everyone's buying into what Coach Dean is saying. It's just perfect in that Hounds dressing room right now, and they couldn't ask for a better start.
We'll have more junior hockey talk tomorrow night on ESPN 1400, 5 o'clock with the Hockey North show with Randy Russin. And we'll also have another show starting, well, actually Randy's show started last week, but starting tomorrow night at 6, the Laker Hockey Show with Bill Crawford and head coach Damon Witten right here on ESPN 1400. And Dave, the Lakers starting their season this weekend at the Taffy Able Arena against Merrimack. Saturday's game 7:07. Bill will have the call on Yes FM around 6:35, 6:40 on Saturday, and then a Sunday afternoon game 5:07. Bill will have the pregame show around 4:35, 4:40 on Yes FM. A season, Dave, that Lakers have some expectations. We had head coach Damon Witten here in studio last week talking about the big game in February over at the Memorial Gardens, and the Lakers now aren't maybe as much the chasers as the team that people are going to be chasing. High expectations, I think, for this team this season, Dave.
Definitely. You know what? And I'm excited because last year was a great year for Lake State hockey. And you know what? They really, there's another team that I feel proved a lot of people wrong last year. I don't think people had the reason to believe they're going to go as far as they did last year. Obviously, they didn't win a state championship by any means, but they've developed some good treading waters there, I like to call it, is where you get for recruitment side or even just to build off as a team. And I'm really positive about Lake State's season this year because they're building off as a positive year. They have an opportunity to build off last year to even go further into the playoffs. And overall, I think Lake State hockey, back when it was here in the early 90s, late 80s kind of hockey, may be coming back. And that's exciting for Lake State fans. If I was somebody over in Soo, Michigan, or if I'm a Lake State fan, which obviously I am, taking off my host hat here for a minute, I would be very ecstatic about what this team going into this year. And I'm just hoping that everyone gets out to support the hockey that Lake State is bringing. They have a great team, a great program that is obviously properly ran from all fronts of Lake State. So the Lake Superior State program, thumbs up, and I'm really excited to see what this year brings, Scotty. I don't know what you think, but I think this team can go deeper than what it did last year.
Yeah, I'm excited, Dave. I'm going to be checking out some of the action this weekend, going to the game Saturday night. The Lakers return a very experienced goaltender. They have a lot of returnees on defense, and you lose some forwards, but you got some guys that can score goals in the WCHA. I think the Lakers could well finish in the top 4 and maybe move a little bit further than they did last season. Dave, a couple more hockey notes before we let you go. And boy, we have a couple really good midget AAA programs to start the season. The Soo Junior Greyhounds were in action at the John Rose Community Center this weekend, taking on Timmins, and 3 victories in 3 tries, 4-3 on Saturday, 2-0 on, 4-3 on Friday, 2-0 on Saturday, 6-5 on Sunday. And the Sioux Indians here at the Taffy Able Arena, also 3 victories, 7-1 over Tri-State on Friday. They also had a 5-1 victory on Saturday and a 7-1 victory on Sunday. So the Indians 7-4 on the season. They're going to be on the road at the Motor City Showcase over the weekend, while the Sioux Junior Greyhounds, they're going to be making the trek, easy for me to say, to New Lisker to take on the Cubs. And so a lot of these midget AAA programs, Dave, we see these players advance very far. So far, so good for both squads.
Definitely. You know what? I got to give shout-outs to the Instagram and Facebook posts and the Sioux Junior Midget Greyhounds doing the leukemia walk, I believe is what their walk was. If I will probably be corrected if I'm wrong. Should double-check that. But the way their involvement is in the community and the way their season has started, and I got to give a shout-out to Jamie Henderson, Lane Burton, and also Alex Cruz, who is involved in the AAA programs here in the Sioux for the youngs, for the youth. So they're doing great in the community. They had a great start to the year, and a lot of people, again, had doubts, again, about this program here in the Sioux because of how it has been lack thereof a championship squad, because everyone here in Sault Ste. Marie, we're used to winning in hockey, especially with my age, is that we always used to thump teams. You know what? That's what I love about this league now. I've won the parity in the league is amazing, and just the talent throughout Ontario, which is great to see, and there are tournaments and showcases that they're involved with to go this year. This program is looking quite promising, and it looks like hockey's being revived from a youth perspective here in Sault Ste. Marie, and it comes from the hard work of the coaches. And you know what I always like to say with the coaches that graciously volunteer their time to the program and put in the work, it pays off to anything. Like anything in life, you work hard, it pays off. And the players and the coaches of this program have put their hours endlessly throughout the summer and the past years trying to grow this program and get it back. The roster of this team looks great. The hockey's very exciting. And it's great all around. And that goes also for the Sioux Indians program, who's been around for as long as I can remember. And, there's been a lot of people that are involved still with that team back when I was younger. So It's great to see the start that they've had. They have respect throughout their leagues, and it's great to see what they have started to. And hopefully they can continue this success and have a great, successful year at the conclusion of it all.
One other hockey note, Dave, before we let you go. Sioux College, the defending American Collegiate Hockey Association Division III United States champion, well, they won a pair of games this weekend at Trine University down in Angola, Indiana, as they would need a late goal on Friday to win a 6-5 overtime win, and then 7-2 on Saturday as the Sioux College has improved to 4-0, and they'll be at Adrian College on Saturday and Sunday. Dave, you've talked a lot about this squad featuring a lot of former NOJHL players along with others. Sioux College really great start in D2 this year.
Definitely. You know what? Ryan Venderman, there's another guy that's had quite fire. And, he had an overtime winner this past weekend. That was a nice shot. The Sioux College Athletics, so you can check out their Facebook page there and their Instagram page. They're uploading things constantly. And Ryan Venderman's goal was a one-timer right at the top of the circle on his offside. And it was just about a minute so left to go in the overtime period. And the Sioux College program is fantastic. They won Division III last year, as you attested to at the beginning of your statement there, Scotty. Now in Division II, they're off to a great start, obviously, again, and they're playing against, yes, stiffer competition than what they did last year, but they're still looking like they haven't missed a beat. The roster on this team, there's a lot of ex-Thunderbirds, ex-NOJHL guys, as you mentioned. There's also an ex-OHL guy in Ryan Venderman, and they're a great and exciting team to watch, and it's great to see for Sault Ste. Marie in general. And when I had individuals talk very negative about the program last year, that has changed. I have not heard any negative going into this year because they earned that respect. And I think this year they are favorites to be champions once again. And if they can be that team to win a Division III, then win a Division II, it can be amazing what they can do by moving up potentially next year. So it's great to see. And you know what? Like I said, Ryan Venderman and the players that are returning guys, they look like they haven't missed a beat this offseason. They're scoring goals at will. They're playing hard, and they're clutch in the moments like anyone knows them by. So kudos to Sioux College. It's obviously great to see. And the athletics program, Scotty, in terms of varsity, has really grown here in the Sioux, and with Algoma University towards more of the soccer, obviously, but Sioux College as well, even branching from hockey. It's just great to see because usually with varsity programs, that's known in the United States. It's not as known here in Canada, and I think Sioux College and teams that are involved as such are really starting to pick up the popularity in varsity sports here, and Sioux College is the main point of that.
Yeah, a couple of Sioux College and Algoma University notes, Dave, before we let you go. Men's soccer for Algoma, you was at home taking on Brock. The men would tie on Saturday 1-1. They would lose 8-0 on Sunday, where the women would lose 1-0 to Brock on Saturday and lose 2-0 on Sunday. Both those teams will be in action next weekend at McMaster University. Sioux College also at home this weekend in outdoor soccer, their first venture there. The men would lose 8-0 to Seneca. Actually, they were on the road this weekend, and they would lose to George Brown 8-1 on Sunday. The girls, the women, I should say, would lose 9-0 to Seneca on Saturday, and then they would lose to George Brown by the score of 4-1. So again, we're trying to give more coverage to the Sioux Colleges and the Algoma Universities of the world, Dave, and we appreciate all the efforts that you're doing over in Sioux, Ontario, not just for your show, but your shows, or for our show rather, but your shows on thegamesportshow.com and also on ONN TV. So Dave McCaig joining us here on the game. Dave, we're going to let you go. We're hoping to be joined by you during the second hour roundtable. Thanks for joining us on the first hour, my friend.
I will absolutely be there, Scotty. And a quick shout-out, I want to say to our Facebook page and Instagram page at The Game Sports Show, including we just messaged with Algoma University. Our analyst and Algoma University coach of the game, Daniel Scarpito, had a fantastic write-up that you can check on The Game Sports Show and other media outlets here in town. Give it a check out, and I will be talking to you guys in the second hour.
Sounds good, Dave. We'll see you in about 1 hour.
Sounds good, Scotty.
All right, that's going to do it for this segment on The Game with Dave McCaig. When we come back, we are going to talk high school football. We have lots of football to cover in the Eastern Upper Peninsula, also in Sioux, Ontario, high school sports, tons of them, Laker athletics and more, coming up next on The Game here on ESPN 1400.
Fall is in the air, Tyler. You know what that means?
Yep, closeout pricing on all 2019s. And here at Rodenroth Motors, we have the largest selection of Chevy, Buick, and GMCs in the Eastern UP.
Along with the lowest lease payments and biggest discounts, make it the best time of year to buy your new car.
New 2019 Chevy Trax LT all-wheel drive with a window sticker of $27,485 has over $5,300 in discounts and rebates. Now only $22,185, and everybody qualifies for this deal.
Our number one selling vehicle, the Chevy Equinox all-wheel drive, and anybody can lease a new one for $282 per month with only $1,482 due at signing.
Wow, and everyone qualifies for that deal?
Yep, and even less if you're a current GM leasee or one of those other brands.
Don't forget, here at Rodenroth Motors, we have the largest selection of quality used cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs, all priced below market.
Guess fall is the best time of year to buy a new car.
Or used.
Come see why all roads lead to Rodenroth Motors for Chevy, Buick, and GMC, the number one volume dealer in the Eastern UP. Chevy, find new roads.
Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies wants you to know September 23rd through 29th is Falls Prevention Awareness Week. Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies has what you need to help prevent you or your loved ones from injuries.
Hi, this is Andrew Miller, manager of Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies. Did you know that every year about 2.8 million older adults are treated in emergency departments for injuries sustained from a fall? Most falls can be prevented or reduced by having the proper equipment in place. We have a selection of bath safety items to help keep you safe, such as shower and transfer benches, commodes, safety rails, and much more. Our knowledgeable and caring staff will work with you and help you pick the right equipment for your needs.
Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies is part of Arfstrom Pharmacy, your locally owned Health Mart pharmacy, located at 409 Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing. Underacting. Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English dead. It doesn't take a theater director to tell the difference between overacting and underacting, but it's not as easy knowing whether you're overinsured or underinsured. A low rate isn't a good thing if everything you hold dear, your family, your home, your future, isn't protected properly. That's why you have Farm Bureau of Michigan agent Dean Garlinghouse to take the drama out of making sure you have the coverage you need. Insurance is Dean's life. Trust your future to Dean Garlinghouse to avoid poor coverage. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him, Horatio. A fellow of infinite jest, a most excellent fancy. Oy. So you can get on with your life. Call Dean Garlinghouse at Farm Bureau Insurance today.
You can catch podcasts of the game at thegamesportshow.com. Now let's get back to it with Scott Nason here on ESPN 1400.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason back in the ESPN 1400 studio. We're joined right now by our first guest, head coach of the Soo High football Blue Devils, Scott Menard, who joins us every year on this show. And Scott, good to see you. Thanks for coming in to the game here on ESPN 1400.
I appreciate having me, Scott.
Well, Scott, I had a chance to broadcast your football game on Saturday on our sister station 1230 WSOO as the Soo High Blue Devils took on Algoma Heights, and well, a pair of 3-1 teams, Scott. And the first half was maybe not what you drew up. The Blue Devils were down by the score of 12-8, but you would come back and defeat and win that game by the score of 24-12 to improve to 4-1 on the season. Now, before I get into some of the things I observed and some questions, what were your overall thoughts on how that game went down?
It had a horrible feel of the Marquette game. We had, literally the exact same things happened. We had a botched punt.
Let's get back to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Let's get back to the game on ESPN 1400.
Tried to do what we could do to try to fix things, and second half was obviously way better.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things I observed, Scott, and at half, when you brought your team in the locker room, you were very positive with the players. A lot of coaches would have been yelling, maybe been throwing fits. Was there a reason you were so positive? Because, even though the half ended the way it was, you guys still were right there, and, well, it proved to be the fact.
Well, one thing I'll say is it was senior day.
Yep.
So that helped temper my but, I think at this point in the season now, and being through that once with the Marquette game, We just know these are silly self-inflicted things that we do that, we're better than the way we participated in that first half and the way we played and some of the things we did. And really it wasn't anything major. It was just, we did everything right up until, the 5-yard line twice.
Sure.
We ran the ball really well. We passed the ball really well. We played defense. We had one missed tackle, and they scored just before half. So I really thought we were better than they were, and I just thought it was a matter of we putting a couple of things together, we'd be fine, and we did that in the second half.
A couple things I noticed coming out of the halftime break is you were able to stop that option read that they were running with the quarterback. Obviously, the injury to their starting quarterback helped your cause in the fourth quarter, but I think that and your offensive line play, I thought, really improved in that second half. You're able to get those runs, especially to the left side with Pierce and with Swan. Really, the line, I think, did a very good job.
Well, we watched film today, and we said the same thing. When you look at where the first down marker is versus the first time there's contact from the Algoma players, it was literally 3-4 yards off the ball. But, when I challenge our linemen, because our linemen, there's a couple of those guys that have been around 3, and for Nick Docherman, he's been around for 4 years. So, they know that they've got to get off to a better start. And when they don't, then it affects us. And so when we came out the second half, we kind of rallied together and said, listen, you 5 guys up front are going to be the difference. And I thought they controlled the line the rest of the game.
Having the ability to watch your sophomore quarterback, Jacob Davey, and just some of the things he does out there, one of the things I was impressed with at the end of the game, letting the clock run down, not being in a rush. Again, he's a sophomore. You see a lot of senior quarterbacks that maybe get a little itchy, want to hike that ball. He was letting that clock run down right to the end. His experience as a sophomore is just... It's hard to think of where he's going to be in a couple years. He's there right now.
It is, and the thing with Jake now, he's won 9 games already in a pretty short career, and a lot of those games have been 1-score games.
Right.
The Gladstone game last year, the Algoma Heights game last year. We had, and already really almost every game this year, it's been 1 to 2 scores. So he's really getting used to being in that situation. And he struggled at the beginning of the year last year in those situations. But yeah, he's really got a lot of maturity in it, and it shows in a lot of different aspects, that being one of them.
Scott, I asked Pat Benton on the broadcast about, the look that Jacob Davey gives as a Soo High quarterback. You've been around this program a long time, coaching, playing. We've just never really, have we seen a quarterback like him? Obviously he's left-handed. That's a little bit different, but he's just a different animal out there.
Left-handed, and yeah, you don't see that. So it's hard to practice against at other teams because they're always, their scout team quarterbacks are probably right-handed. So that's a different look, but just the way that he throws the ball is a little different. We've had guys that have been able to have great arms, but never had the accuracy, and he's got a little bit of both. And one thing that myself and Coach Brad Boven, who's our offensive guy, we've really worked with Jake the last couple of years on throwing on the run. And a lot of times guys don't want to look at their feet, right? Or they don't want to look at, and his head is down the field the entire time. He keeps the ball high so it never drops on him. And then, I don't think we really scratched the surface of his running ability. We've allowed him to do some things. We haven't really designed anything for him yet. I wish he'd put on 15 more pounds.
Right.
But I just think there's a lot of untapped potential there, but the maturity he's shown in, really 14 games. And he's midway through his sophomore year is pretty impressive.
Soo High head football coach Scott Menard joining us on the game. Scott, before we look ahead, your defense on Saturday, and your defense really outside that Marquette game all year has played well, making some plays, giving up 12 points, but they bent a little bit, but they didn't break at all. And they were really one of the reasons that you won that game, obviously.
Well, and I think that's something that we've always kind of prided ourselves on, was the idea that, in the Marquette game, there was a number of reasons I could go over that, that we really just, lost our composure and our ability to do things we wanted to do. But, I think once we've kind of figured out in our path down this road so far has been, we kind of get a feel for what a team wants to do against us on that first drive, and whether we give up a touchdown or not, we're able to respond. Gordy does a great job of making, changes at halftime. And I just think right now that we're a stronger team physically, that we're able to wear teams down in the second half. We've done the majority of our damage on offense and defense in our 4 wins in the second half. Right. And I think that's a tribute to, us and our guys, but, our defense has really been the linchpin of that.
So you're 4-1, Scott, going into the game Friday at Gladstone. You have 3 of the last 4 games on the road. I know you're not looking ahead. Let's look at Gladstone right now, a team I believe lost this past weekend. They're 2-2, but a team that always gives a good effort and a good game. What do you need to do to win that game this Friday?
Well, I think we need to do exactly what we did last week other than the turnovers part. I mean, I really thought, like I said, we dominated the line of scrimmage, which we've been able to do in our 4 wins. And then again, just try to figure out what they're good at and stop that early. And then the turnovers are kind of problematic because we had another 4 last week, and we've got to do a better job of protecting the ball. But they're a solid team. They played some very good teams, and they beat a couple of very good teams at the start of the year. So I like where we're at right now, but that's going to be a challenge. It's going to be their homecoming, which it always seems like it is when we go there. So that'll be added incentive for them, but also for us to try to. We'd love to win it, Scott. We'd love to win it and then be able to clinch 6 wins at our homecoming next week. So there's a lot of things on the line, I think, for us as much as there is for them.
Yeah, and 6 gets you in, Scott. You need 2 of your last 4. And, right now, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the playoff points, which, don't mean a whole lot until the end of the season. Right now, you'd host 2 games. If it came down to that, you and Escanaba.
I'd be a liar if I said I hadn't looked at it.
Exactly. Escanaba, you guys are right on the cusp. But again, playing those tougher teams, beating the Alpinas, the higher schools, and even playing some of those other ones, that's only going to help. But obviously, you want to get to that 6th win, and then whatever happens after that is really just gravy, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why, like I said, this game's important, and obviously, well, they're all important. But if we can do what we've done this week and next week and get our 6, then now we're playing for home field. But that's a great feeling. I mean, I think we've only really had it once where we were the number 1 seed in the region. But we know that those games down the road, I mean, that Ludington game, they're in the same boat we are. They're fighting for a first or second round game. And then Gaylord's always been a pest to us. I mean, but again, I look at us beating Petoskey and us beating Alpena. That's why we're there. Yep. So, we can get a game against Gaylord, who's another A school with a couple of wins under a belt. I mean, that's really going to put us in a great spot.
Yeah, your final 3 games, home against Rogers City and then the Ludington game. And I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, it was tough to lose a home game. You guys had 6. Yeah. You got to do that game down there because there's just not a lot of officials in this area in any sport, and especially young officials. And so as a coach, obviously it's something out of your control, but, that had to be very disappointing.
It was because, then you all of a sudden you look at homecoming as being it, and usually there's one more game the way the schedule is gone. And now we look at the enormity of it with the fact that Ludington's in our region and Ludington is in the same boat we are. And I mean, it's a playoff game before the playoffs maybe even start. Having it home would have been nice, but it is what it is. We went down to Alpena in a pretty harsh environment a couple of weeks ago and played very well on the road. So like I said, I have a little bit more faith in our guys now that we've been able to get some of these tougher games. And, I think we'll be okay with wherever we go, whether it's home or away.
Scott, next year, of course, the Soo High Blue Devils are moving to a new conference, the Northern Michigan Football League. Algoma Heights, the team you played Saturday, will be in that conference. To be in a conference, are you happy about that?
We are, and I know that for Steve Lockwood, who's our AD, we've talked for, he's been at now for a couple of years, but even when Andre Fortin and Tony Haller were there, the difficulty of where we are and as big as we are, I mean, not as big as we used to be, but being able to schedule teams, we're all over the place. I mean, we're from Marquette to Alpena to Algoma Heights to Ludington. I mean, I don't know. A couple of years ago when we were in the GNC, I mean, the travel was tough then. It won't be as tough next year, but even like this year, we're putting a lot of miles on that bus.
Yeah.
Having some stability, knowing that we'll have this many home games, this many away games, knowing that we'll be part of a conference, getting our kids some postseason recognition will be nice. We're really excited about it. We're really, really looking forward to it. And it'd just be nice to be part of something too, where we really haven't been for quite a few years.
Scott, final question for you before we let you go. And, watching that game, it was exciting to broadcast it. And I think just seeing your team on offense and defense, it's an exciting brand of football to watch. It's not just 3 yards running up the middle every time. You guys are trying different plays. You're passing, you're running. As a coach, obviously you have the weapons where you can do that. Maybe in other years you haven't. Is that something that's exciting to you?
It is because, you go back to looking at having Jacob, and Jacob's really been able to do some things with our passing game that we just really haven't had the ability to do. And once you do that, and now we've got, we had a great running back last year, but we've got a stable of more complete backs this year that we can do things with between Chris and Jack and Jamie and Riddick Lapine and Basil and Ryan LaPlante. I mean, we have big guys, we have small guys, we have quick, we have, strong. So it gives us a little bit of flexibility. But the key, to be honest with you, is the line. Yeah. We have 5 guys up front, honestly, 2 other guys that could be starters that are really able to do some things that, we just haven't been able to do. And when you can do that, it really does. I think it really does take the pressure off the defense, and it allows us to do some things that, like I said, whether it's going to be rainy or it's going to be sunny, we're able to be pretty multifaceted.
Soo High head football coach Scott Menard joining us on the game. The Blue Devils in action on the road Friday night against Gladstone. You can hear that game on our sister station, 1230 WSO with Dave Watson around 6:40 on Friday. Coach, best of luck on Friday, and good luck the rest of the season. And I'm thinking we're going to get you in here before your first playoff game here in a few weeks. What do you say?
I like the way you're thinking. Yeah, Scott, absolutely. Appreciate it, Scott.
Thanks for joining us, Scott. Okay. We're going to take a break here and talk Laker cross country up next on the game on ESPN 1400.
O'Connor's, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
Big fall doings in September at O'Connor's of Pickford, where Ram Power Days are on. Want to lease a new 2019 Ram Bighorn Quad Cab 4x4? O'Connor's delivers with a low mileage lease for just $319 a month plus tax with approved credit. You pay just $9.99 at signing. Ram Power Days all month long. Get the deal you want on the Ram you dream about at O'Connor's of Pickford.
O'Connor's, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
Jeep Adventure Days are on all month at O'Connor's of Pickford. Get a new Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk with up to $6,750 in rebates and incentives. Or enjoy an ultra-low mileage lease on a new 2019 Jeep Compass. It's just $275 a month plus tax with good credit, and you pay just $550 at signing. Jeep Adventure Days all month long. Get the deal you want on the Jeep you dream about at O'Connor's of Pickford.
O'Connor's, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
Well, it's nearing the end of our beautiful summer, and if you'd like to kill two birds with one stone... Wait, that was just an expression. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, you can make some extra money by cleaning up around your home, garage, and yard. Gather your scrap metal and bring it to Reed Metals. Reed Metals pays $50 for a full, large General Motors catalytic converter and $6 per average car battery and $12 per semi-battery. Bring in scrap vehicles or any other recyclable metals, and they'll print you a check. Reed Metals, the honest, one-stop metal recycling business. Visit reedmetals.com or call 906-632-0018. Reed Metals, 13 miles south of the Soo on Mackinac Trail. Reed Metals is only minutes away from helping you make money before the summer ends. No birds were harmed during this production, nor were any actual stones thrown.
Paul Thompson here with Gaylor Thompson Sales and Service, just off I-75 in Rudyard, inviting you to stop in and see the largest selection of equipment in the Eastern Upper Peninsula. To complement our full line of Mahindra tractors, we have trailers including goosenecks, dumps, cargoes, car haulers, and utility trailers. We also have a full line of lawn and garden equipment with Cub Cadet and Exmark. Over 50 mowers to choose from, a full line of parts, and we service what we sell. Looking for an outdoor wood or pellet furnace or parts? We stock water pumps, exchangers, PEX supplies, and more. Also, check out our full line of Boss and Fisher snow and ice equipment. Here at Gaylor Thompson and Rudyard, we are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturdays, 9 to noon for your convenience. Just off I-75 in Rudyard, 30 minutes from the bridge. If you need it, we have it. Give us a call at 906-478-3026. Hope to see you here.
You can catch podcasts of the game at thegamesportshow.com. Now let's get back to it with Scott Nason here on ESPN 1400.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400, also heard online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the ESPN 1400 studios on 3 Mile. I want to thank our guests so far, Dave McCaig, who will rejoin us in hour 2 for the roundtable, and also Soo High head football coach Scott Menard. The Blue Devils in action Friday night as they will take on Gladstone, trying to get one step closer to that magic number of 6 to make the official entry into the MHSAA playoffs. You can hear that game with Dave Watson on our sister station, 1230 WSOO. We are continuing to talk local sports, and our next guest has arrived. His name is Rob Gallanger. He is the head coach for the Lake Superior State University cross-country team, the 3rd year for that, and the track and field program. Rob, thanks for joining us here on the game.
Hey, Scott, thanks for having me.
Well, it's always fun to talk Laker athletics and cross country, as your team has been in action quite a bit over the last few weeks. You started the season at Northwood at their Invitational. You also were at Michigan State, always a good place to be, in my opinion, for the Spartan Invitational. And then your last meet, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, at Wayne State. And Rob, before we get into some of the details of the season and some accolades that some of your runners have earned, what's your thoughts overall on where the cross-country program is right now?
I'm liking where we're at in the season. We're about midway through, 3 meets down, 3 meets to go. We're sitting well where we're supposed to be in training. Everybody's looking good. Health, for the most part, has been right where we want it to be. In terms of running, obviously you're going to go into that a little bit more, but it's been a good season. I've really liked it.
Well, and one of the things that was announced last week, or one of the awards that one of your runners won, and we've mentioned his name a lot over the past few years on the game, David Mitter, last week was named Great Lakes Athletic Intercollegiate Conference Male Cross Country Athlete of the Week. It's the first time in Mitter's collegiate career that he was named GLIAC Athlete of the Week, and the first cross-country athlete from LSSU to win the award since 2013. Ben Dooling won that award back then, and this is a guy that just has had very successful places NCAA conference-wise, getting a first place at the Warrior Challenge, and someone that's getting better, it appears.
Yeah, definitely. We came into the season with David specifically looking at getting him back to that national meet. Last season, after the regional meet, which he ran out of his mind, it was fantastic to watch. We knew that we had to game plan this year to set him up so he had the best chance to get back to that national meet. Like you said, that at the Wayne State meet, ran well there. It was really hot, like 85 degrees, very humid, definitely not running weather. But he played it pretty well, sat in the top pack for pretty much the entire race. And then once we got to about 500 meters to go, he took off. I think he ended up winning by about 4 seconds. So nice race for him. Training wise, he's healthy, he's running well, and yeah, like you said, he keeps getting better. Looking at
this roster, 10 runners on the Lake State roster, a couple local products. You have Hunter Lipponen. Of course, many EUP fans know his athletic prowess at Brimley High School, along with Daniel Anderson and some others. A small roster, but for the men, 10, is that a good size roster, I should say? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, it is a little small right now. We've had a little bit of roster turnover, but for a cross-country team like that, you want to sit it generally in the 12 range. Any more than that, it gets a little congested. People don't feel like they're contributing meaningful races, and any less than that, and you start to get into a little bit of issues with any injuries and things like that.
Your women's team, how have they performed up until this season, and who are some of the runners to watch out for in that program, Rob?
Well, first and foremost, Rebecca Lathrop. She took 10th at the Warrior Challenge. That was a really good race for her. In that same race the year before, I think she ended up, I want to say 30th, maybe. So that was a big jump for her. She PR'd at the Northwood race, as well as a couple of the other girls, Emily Merton, Alexis Pasno. Both of them, in addition to Rebecca, have been running extremely well so far. The girls team just continues to improve. They, after last season, didn't have a lot of outside expectations, but they had a lot of personal expectations. And I think they're getting into place where they're going to meet those and exceed those come postseason time.
Rob Gallanger joining us on the game, head coach for the Lake State cross country and track and field programs. Rob, training-wise, as far as practice schedules, is it something you do every day? Do you do it twice a day? What do you do? Give us a rundown on how you prepare your athletes for the next meet.
Well, we generally go 6 days a week, a nice dedicated off day, whatever that ends up being, mostly Sunday for people. In those training weeks where we don't have a meet, we're looking at somewhere between 2 and 3 solid workouts, lactic threshold, tempo stuff, speed, obviously, and then just nice base mileage runs, getting in time on feet and making sure that everybody's prepared for whatever race they're running, whether it's a 6K, 8K, 10K kind of thing.
You mentioned earlier about the meet at Wayne State being hot and humid. Is there an ideal weather for a cross-country meet, in your opinion? Obviously, you don't want it too hot. You don't want it too cold. You probably don't want a lot of wind. What's the ideal weather conditions for a meet, in your opinion?
65, kind of cloudy, no wind, no humidity. If you can get above that 65 temperature and then nothing else, you're set. You're going to have a really good day. You're going to have kids that are prepared for something a little warmer, something a little colder, but it averages out to be about 65-ish. And
you have a new assistant coach this season, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about him.
Roger On comes from a Worcester program in Ohio as an athlete that's had really good conference success, and he's been essentially he was essentially part of their staff. And then he moved on to a small school in Oklahoma to work on his master's degree. He comes from a very multi-sport background, was also a Division II baseball and football player.
Oh, wow.
So he's got a lot of background there, especially in the strength and conditioning side of things. Really excited to have him there. In the weight room, he's been fantastic. Teaching progressions, weights, they've all been on point. Just the overall daily enthusiasm, coming in every morning, and he's ready to go.
Rob Gallanger joining us on the game, head coach of the cross-country team. Rob, a couple questions before we let you go. We had your athletic director in last weekend, Dr. David Pates, and one of the questions I asked him, or one of the comments I made is, your program, along with several others at Lake State, are on the rise. This your third season. Where you started with this program 3 seasons ago to where you are right now, first question, are you satisfied with the direction of the program, and where do you want it to see it head after, this season and beyond?
Oh, definitely satisfied. I came into that first season. It was very hectic. 3 days before the season started. It was nuts. That first year, I had a lot of on-the-job learning to do, all thrown at me all at once. Last year, smoothed out a little bit, got some things figured out. This year, we've taken it that next step with the inclusion of Coach Roger as well. The direction is where we want to be going. We can see ourselves kind of that end goal at getting people to nationals consistently, hopefully top 5 in conference scoring. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but as we kind of gain that experience and gain those athletes that want to be here and do well, I can definitely see that continued success being something that we strive towards.
Lake State's next cross-country meet will be on Saturday, October 12th, the 5th annual conference crossover cross-country invitational at Lewis University. And then the GLIAC cross-country championships will be at Purdue University Northwest on October 26th. Final question, Rob, to qualify for the nationals, which I believe will be November 9th, the Midwest championships rather in Evansville, and then the cross-country nationals will be out in Sacramento on November 23rd. How does one have to score to qualify for nationals?
Ooh, that is
it a tough equation?
That is a very tough equation, but it's basically going to break down that if you are an individual runner in that top 8 to 10 area, then you've got a very distinct possibility of going. If you are an individual runner in the top 3 or 4, you're set to go. So we're kind of setting David up to fall somewhere in that 1 to 8 range, hopefully. Last year he was 8th, so we'd like to see him get a little bit higher this year. But there are some really good runners in this Midwest regional. Southern Indiana University's got a really good sophomore. Grand Valley consistently puts out some of the best distance runners in the country, and they're in our conference. So we've got a lot of competition there, but it's a challenge that David's been ready for, that I've been hopefully preparing him well for, and something the team as a whole is really looking forward to.
Rob Gallanger, head coach of the Laker cross country and track and field teams, joining us on the game. Rob, always good to see you. We'll get you in at least one more time before the cross country season ends, hopefully, and then talk track and field maybe later on. Thanks for joining us here on the game.
Sounds good. Thank you, Scott.
All right, thank you. And we're going to take a break and recap the rest of the week of local sports coming up next on the game here on ESPN 1400.
Oh, yeah! Wake up, Michigan, with a small coffee from McDonald's for just $1. Freshly brewed from Arabica beans, this cup of Joe packs Flavo. And the fact that you can bundle any size coffee or any size soft drink with a delicious sausage McMuffin for just $2 might be enough to make you into a morning person like moi. Michigan mornings start at McDonald's. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
The local housing market is competitive, and unless you have the right team in your corner, you might miss out on your dream home. That's why happy customers choose Old Mission Bank for their home mortgage needs. We provide quality service from the time you submit your application to closing and then through the entire life of your loan. Let our friendly, knowledgeable staff be your financial partner. Call or stop by to check out our competitive rates and all the other fast, simple solutions we offer at Old Mission Bank. We're located in Pickford and Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. FDIC insured, equal housing lender.
Let's get back to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Let's get back to the game on ESPN 1400.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason back in studios here on 3 Mile Road, our ESPN 1400 studios. We got about 9 minutes to recap the rest of local sports, and I got a ton to recap, so let's go through it quickly. High school football from this past weekend, Friday night, St. Ignace falls to Harbor Springs by the score of 16-0. In a game you heard on Oldies 93 with Matt Pocket, it was all Cedarville as they crush Brimley by the score of 48-6. Pickford shuts out Rudyard at home by the score of 48-0. Rapid River over Newberry, 58-24. We mentioned the Soo High victory over Algoma Heights by the score of 24-12, and Engadine over Superior Central by the score of 47-14. Games this week in our EUP Game of the Week on Oldies 93 with Matt Pocket. Cedarville will be at the Purple Palace in Pickford to take on the Pickford Panthers. Brimley will be at Engadine in a pair of 4-1 matchups. Newberry, they will be at home to North Dickinson on Saturday, and I mentioned Soo High. They will be at Gladstone on Friday night on 12:30 WSO with Dave Watson. High school football in Soo, Ontario, one varsity game over the weekend. Cora, they improved to 3-0 on the season as they defeat St. Mary's by the score of 37-8. Speaking of Cora, girls high school basketball, yes, the season is underway in Soo, Ontario, and Cora, who's looking to make it 6 straight city titles, they got off to a very good start over White Pines as they won that game by the score of 56-23. High school volleyball over this past week. On Tuesday night, the Sault High Blue Devils remained unbeaten in Straits Area Conference play as they defeated Sheboygan in 4 sets by a 3-1 count. Rudyard over Brimley on Tuesday night by a 3-0 count in high school volleyball. Also on Tuesday, Pickford over St. Ignace by a 3-1 count, and Detour over Newberry 3-1. Rudyard on Thursday night still unbeaten in EUP conference play. They're the number 7 ranked team in the state of Michigan in Division 4 as they took out Pickford 3-0. High school cross country, a meet actually, I don't know if that meet ended up going today. They had a scheduled meet, but with the weather and such, with all the rain and thunderstorms moving in, don't know if that quite happened so far, but it's been Soo High's junior Haley Knowles, who's the front runner among the girls as far as winning a Straits Area Conference title. And then for the boys, Austin Plotkin of Brimley, he is one of the favorites as well. We talked a lot of hockey with Dave McCaig earlier tonight, and we're also going to talk more about Laker athletics with their golf teams. The women's golf team last Monday, they finished first place in the Blue Devil Classic hosted by Lawrence Tech at Treetops Resort Golf Course in Gaylord, Michigan. So congratulations to the Laker women's golf team winning that title. Laker volleyball on the road this weekend, winning at Northern Michigan on Friday by a 3-1 count. That's the first time that the Lakers defeated Northern Michigan since 2005, and this Laker volleyball program improving. We mentioned that with Rob, talking about the programs all on the really upswing at Lake Superior State. The volleyball is no different. Lakers would lose on Saturday to a very good Michigan Tech team, 3-0. And the Laker volleyball team, they will be in action tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. at the Bud Cooper Gymnasium as they will take on Saginaw Valley State. Laker women's tennis on the road this weekend. A couple losses. They would lose at Wayne State on Friday by a 6-1 count, and then they would lose a close one at Ashland on Sunday by a 4-3 count. The Lakers, they're going to be in action at home this weekend at the Student Activity Center on the campus of Lake Superior State University. They'll take on Saginaw Valley on Saturday and Northwood on Sunday. Laker women's golf participated at the Bulldog Fall Invitational over this past weekend. The Lakers finished third place after the first day of play, and they would end up finishing third overall. So another strong performance by the Laker women's golf team. They're off this weekend, and they are going to travel to Crown Point, Indiana, to take part in the Mike LaLeaf Memorial Invitational hosted by Purdue University Northeast next Saturday, October 12th, and Sunday, October 13th. The men's golf team participated at the Hawks Head Invitational hosted by Wayne State University in South Haven, Michigan. High scores for the Lakers, or I should say low scores, Ryan Page and Isaac Lennox. We mentioned the soccer results at Algoma University with Dave McCaig. And just a couple other notes. Women's college basketball over at Algoma University. 3 tournament games in the opening Thunderbirds tournament. The Thunderbirds would lose to Humber on Friday night by the score of 76-62. And then a pair of wins after that. They would win against Nipissing on Saturday, and they would win on Sunday against Laurentian. So those are the local sports scores here. We want to recap the week in our broadcast schedule here on Sovereign Communications. As well, we have lots on our airwaves this week, including tomorrow night, 5 p.m., the Hockey North Show with Randy Russin right here on ESPN 1400, 5 to 6 o'clock. And then the Laker Hockey Show with Bill Crawford and head hockey coach for the Lakers, Damon Witten. That will start at 6 o'clock tomorrow night right here on ESPN 1400. Wednesday night, the Game Sports Show from Soo, Ontario, along with Butch On Sports. Our next guest, Butch Davis, will be talking all sorts of Detroit sports with us here in about 5 minutes. And on his show, Butch On Sports, which you can find at thegamesportshow.com. Thursday night, the Game Sports Show also on thegamesportshow.com with Dave McCaig. And a very busy weekend of broadcast here on our family of stations. Friday night on ESPN 1400, myself and Larry Pozzebon will have the call as the Soo Eagles will take on the Sioux Thunderbirds. We'll have the pregame show at 7:15. Soo High Blue Devil football, as I mentioned, on our sister station, 1230 WSOL with Dave Watson at Gladstone. Dave will have the pregame show around 6:40. And then over on Oldies 93 with Matt Pocket, EUP Game of the Week high school football. Cedarville will take on Pickford. Matt will have the pregame show around 6:45. Busy Saturday on our family of stations. Coach's Corner on 1230 WSOO with Dave Watson at 11:05. Laker hockey at home against Merrimack. 7:07 in the face-off with Bill Crawford on Yes FM. Bill will have the pregame show around 6:40. Sioux Greyhounds hockey over on Rock 101 with Jerry Liscombe Jr. as the Hounds at home to Sudbury, 7:07. Jerry will have the pregame show around 6:40. And the first night of Detroit Red Wings hockey on 1230 WSOO as the Wings will open their season against Nashville. Well, the pregame show at 7:30. Sunday, Sioux Greyhounds on Rock 101, an afternoon affair against Peterborough. Jerry Liscombe Jr. will have the call of that one around 1:40. Laker hockey, a 5:07 start on Sunday against Merrimack. Bill Crawford over on Yes FM. We'll have the call of that one around 4:35, 4:40. And finally, the Detroit Red Wings will have their home opener Sunday night against the Dallas Stars on WSOO. 7 o'clock face-off. We'll have the pregame show at 6:30. And one other note, as this was just handed to me, of course, a very familiar voice to this station, 1230 WSOO and Sovereign Communications, John Bell, who we miss hearing on the airwaves. Well, there's going to be a burger bash for Johnny on Monday, October 28th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Elks Lodge here in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. They'll have burgers with sides and dessert Adults, $10, 12 and under, $5. You can get tickets in advance right here at the radio station. They also have takeouts available, a silent auction, and 50-50. Donations and silent auctions are welcome. For more information on this John Bell Burger Bash, I'll definitely be there before the game that night. You can call 906-632-2231. That's going to do it for hour one of the game, but we have plenty of sports to talk about in hour two. Waiting in the wings is Butch Davis from Butch On Sports, who will get us up to date on everything going on in the Metro Detroit area. We'll also have our round table. Dave McCaig will be making the trek over here to our studios. We're hoping to be joined by EJ Russell. That's coming up next on the game here on ESPN 1400.
Life is busy. Get out and enjoy the fun. Whether that means a block party with the neighborhood or tailgating with the gang, the Honda EU 2200i has you covered. Besides being lightweight and durable, Honda portable generators are extremely quiet and can run for hours and hours. The Honda EU 2200i now has 200 watts more power with models up to 4,400 watts. You'll love the fuel efficiency and reliability of your new Honda generator. Go to Honda.com or, better yet, visit Lead Sports Center on the I-75 Business Spur and learn firsthand all the ways you can put a Honda generator to work for you. Honda, it's power you can trust.
Mo at M&C Water Systems has a solution for all your water needs. Want clean, fresh drinking water? M&C Water Systems proudly distributes natural, artesian water for all your bottled water needs. Cooler rental and bottled water delivery for your home and office are available. M&C Water Systems delivers to all the local islands, too. Need a water filter? M&C has them. Need a softener? Drinking water system? Want to find out about reverse osmosis? Call Mo at M&C Water Systems today at 906-647-7307, serving the Eastern Upper Peninsula for over 25 years.
You want more from a compact or utility tractor, and at Skinner's of Pickford, you'll find more. More of the newest Massey Ferguson tractors, offering more versatility, more durability, and more performance. Stop by today and find out how Massey Ferguson is expanding the possibilities of what a great tractor can be, and why a Massey Ferguson will be the last tractor you'll ever need. Come see the Massey Ferguson compact and utility tractors at Skinner's of Pickford, your tractor source in the north. You wanted a small tractor with a mid-PTO for more versatility. Massey Ferguson responded by bringing back a versatile workhorse, the Massey Ferguson 1526 Compact Tractor, now available at Skinner's of Pickford. A tractor that can do more because it's made to handle more. As hardworking and no-nonsense as you are. See it today at Skinner's of Pickford, your tractor source in the north. Let's get to the second half of the game here on ESPN 1400, WKNW, Sault Ste. Marie's sports leader. It's the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Now, here's Scott Nason.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400, also heard online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from our studios on 3 Mile Road here in, well, now clear Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. I should say cloudy as rain and thunderstorms moved in. We'll be joined by Dave McCaig coming up here in about 20 minutes for our roundtable. And we're joined right now by our co-host and all-around good guy, Butch Davis, who joins us each and every week from the Metro Detroit area to talk about the world of sports down in his neck of the world and in general. You can find his show, Butch On Sports, on our podcast page, thegamesportshow.com or thegamesportshow.podbean.com. You can also go to his podcast page, Simply Butch 2, that's TOO.podomatic.com. Go to Facebook and give him a like at Butch On Sports. Butch, I know you've been a little under the weather lately. How you feeling tonight and how you doing?
I'm getting better here.
Well, that is good news, Butch. And, let's start with the Detroit Lions as well. It was a very interesting game on Sunday at Ford Field as the Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Detroit Lions by the score of 34-30. The Lions now 2-1-1 on the season. Their first loss. They'll have a bye week before resuming play at Green Bay on Monday night. Butch, overall thoughts on the Lions game? Close, but not close enough.
They look like the same old Lions there. Many opportunities given to them. Don't score in the red zone. Everything was thrown to them. Pretty good third quarter by both teams, getting away turnovers left and right. Again, they've been given a humongous amount of opportunities, and they didn't cash in on it. However, the Kansas City, with younger personnel and more exciting personnel, more energetic personnel, got the job done and squeaked out a victory right here at Ford Field. This game was the Lions to win, and they did not take advantage of it.
Butch, a lot of the Lions fans I've talked to today seem pretty happy with the loss and the results. I'm not quite in that camp. I mean, yeah, the Lions showed a little more fight and grit, but again, that I like what you said. That game was there for the taking, and the Lions, 4th and 8, they could have stopped Mahomes and coulda, shoulda, woulda, but the Lions just couldn't do it, could they?
Well, people love the hoopla and whatever it may be. And then, not to take anything from the game itself, it was somewhat an exciting team that came into play there. And if you had to bet 10-1 to a dozen of donuts, you would think that the Lions were going to get beat up. But it was a very entertaining game. There were some things that the Lions, I've talked about on the show for quite some time, that the Lions were performing. We saw Matthew Stafford run up the middle. I've been talking about that for a humongous amount of years here. We just took advantage of what the offense or the defense give him. He would be a more efficient and more effective quarterback. And he was on several occasions there. He was even aggressive on that particular there. The running was spot on here by Keon Johnson there. The unfortunate part was he was in the red zone twice and fumbled the ball.
Yep.
You just can't give away 14 points like that, or 15 or 16 points like that, and expect it to be, a winning team there. And the Lions did everything they can. The biggest turnaround in the game is when Bashawn Breeland recovered Keon Johnson's fumble, and because no one was paying attention, no one gave it a good cahoot about listening to the whistle. Everybody's full of hype. That man, Mr. Breeland, ran 100 yards. Barely and trotting for a touchdown, and that was the big difference of the game. Plain and simple, it was lack of detail for the Detroit Lions again. You cannot get ripped up in hype, and it seems like the Lions are good for that. They're good for hyping up the fans. They're good for hyping up this, that, and the other. They hyped up the team. But the results are, and I'm not part of that camp either, is you want to see the team win. You want to see the team thrive. You want to see the team take advantage of something. And the Lions are not doing it there. They're not doing it at all. The first half, very inclusive here, 2-1-1. You got the first fourth of the season done for you there. What are you going to take away from that first fourth? That really and truly, your record should be at least 4-0. You have more opportunity. But again, I guess fans will be happy because, you're not going to get any better than what you're getting there. So you might as well be happy and smile and cheese rather than, go home sad and say, we got nothing. It was a very exciting game. But again, the Lions had many opportunities to win and didn't get it done.
Perfect transition, Butch, to a team that had nothing all season long, the Detroit Tigers, ending their miserable season, 47-114. Where do they go from here, Butch? Nowhere to go but up, isn't there?
You think? Tigers this year, for one reason or another, 47-14, they do get the first round draft pick.
Yep.
That's somewhere down the road a piece. Here's my take. What are you going to do about next year? How are you going to approach next year there? There are some pieces that have to be figured out here. Number one, the team has failed in making the pitcher staff a lot more better. They have not done that for the last 3 years. I did not, and I still didn't disagree with Olivia's keeping Mize and some Manning and some good doggone pitchers that right now we need up here to somewhat, get themselves together and be able to deal with major league pitching. I think that's a huge mistake if they're going to bring them up here or play pieces of bait with them. They got to get a pitching staff going. They have to have some consistent bullpen help. If they don't do that, all for what they've done is for loss. I do not think too much of the offense. I do not think too much of the defense. I see some pieces in place, like Reyes, for instance, there, and some other players that who will come on around and probably do some things. But again, this team needs to be overall looked at, pieced together, and look at your young talent and see what you can do. And I'm including also in Toledo there too. There's some talent in Toledo that we have not looked at and we haven't even talked about yet. There's some talent in Western Michigan we have not looked at and have not talked about. And I think the Tigers need to take that all into consideration. Finally there, you need to get someone to hit in front and hit in back of Cabrera there. I think he's still a doggone good hitter. I think he has a lot to contribute for this team. But if you don't have someone to protect him, he's not going to get the pitches that he once got a long time ago there.
Butch, let's move on to the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings did assign Michael Rasmussen and Moritz Seitzer to Grand Rapids yesterday. The roster is set. The opening night Saturday in Nashville, home opener Sunday against Dallas. Your thoughts heading into the 2019-2020 season on the Detroit Red Wings?
I don't have any.
You haven't seen them yet. Yeah.
Really, you don't. The season start. This is the lineup. We got to see how things dwell. Do I agree with all the choices that have been made so far? I've seen some kids right now who really impressed me very well, and they're in Grand Rapids right now. I want to see how far that happens. I said last night on my show that we're going to see a revolving ball of players come in from Grand Rapids if they fail down here in Detroit or in the National Hockey League system there, okay? I don't think Steve Yzerman is going to sit back and do the Detroit Tiger thing, okay? Where basically you just watch this team just go up and burn, okay? I think we're going to see some aggressive player. We did see that throughout the exhibition season, I should say, for the Red Wings. I was very impressed with a lot of the young kids there and how they have grown from 1 year ago to where they are now. I was very impressed with all that there. So I don't think Steve Yzerman is going to sit around and ladle, okay, some players to maybe go 40 or 50 games and have a very poor record when you got a slew of good players up in Grand Rapids who right now are ready to come down here and make a dent in the system.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Butch, we got about 10 more minutes to talk more sports. And, well, it was Detroit Pistons Media Day today down at Little Caesars Arena as the Pistons, which you can hear on ESPN 1400 this season, will have their first preseason game next Monday night against Orlando at LCA. Butch, did you have a chance to get down there? And what were the goings on today for Pistons Media Day?
No way get down there,
Little wild.
I got so much for getting down there. I got something to say after we'll get all this over here. No, they was in Auburn Hills today. There's no way, we can get down there and take care or see anything. It was right down there maybe at the Little Caesars Arena or something where, many of us anticipated being, we'd be okay, but it didn't happen that way, so, there it is. You're looking at some veteran players. They went out there and got Joe Johnson, Derrick Rose. You're looking at some younger players that are bringing up from Grand Rapids up here to battle to see how this team is going to be better than what they were last year. Again, I kind of deflect from the gibberish and whatnot that people like to talk about and get everybody hyped up. I just want to see a very good season of growth, development, some good play during preseason, so when the regular season comes, they have themselves together. One thing the Pistons need to establish right now, they have to establish getting some people in line, so when the bigger people are on the floor, they don't have to play 40 and 35 minutes a game. That includes Andre Drummond. That includes our big wigs there. We can't have them on the floor 40 minutes a game and whatnot and expect to win every game. That's just not going to happen. We got to have some consistent guard play. For the Pistons to be always successful, they've always had excellent guard play, and we haven't had that consistency for quite some time. We need to have that in order for them to do anything very much so balancing here. And also some forwards to come on out there. I think Joe Johnson, if they play him the way I think they're going to play him, which is maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes a game, if they're able to do that, that will be spelling off some help and giving somebody some time on the floor, getting some proper rest. If that can be established and we can get some other players like Tom Maker and others to step up, I think the Pistons will be a pretty doggone good team an enjoyable team to watch this upcoming season. But without that, they got to have some help.
Butch, let's get back to football. College football, Michigan rights the ship this weekend at home over Rutgers, 52-0. Michigan State had to win late over Indiana by the score of 40-31. Both teams will be tested next week. Michigan hosts Iowa. Michigan State will be at Ohio State. Thoughts on those two teams right now?
Michigan State needs to get it together, and also Michigan as well. There, I was pleased with Michigan and what they did, compared to where they were last week. On the other hand, Michigan State looked invincible last week, and this week they had to struggle to get the victory and whatnot there. Consistency is the key for both those particular teams there. Michigan got a chance to still go to Indianapolis with their hair blazing on fire there and play in the championship game. They're not out of that yet there, okay? So Michigan has to establish some good old-fashioned play. Michigan State as well. They have to establish some good old-fashioned play for them to come up there and be competitive, to go to Indianapolis and be part of that conclusion of being a champion.
Butch, high school football in your area, we talked about it last week. What were some of the big games this past weekend?
Well, you had a lot of games that got off late because of many storms that were in the area here. A lot of homecoming games got canceled or pushed aside or etc. There, it was a mess at a lot of the high schools there when it came down to the play there. But one of the games I did look at there and took the Allen Park Brownstown Woodhaven game, as Allen Park loses to Brownstown Woodhaven by 1 point, 21-20 there. That is going to be an important game because I think both of those teams are going to have a very good opportunity of getting in the playoffs. Surprise team is Southgate Anderson here, okay? They beat up on Royal Oak by the final score of 19-14. That is not a conference game per se there, but it's an important game because Royal Oak is not a bad team at all. However, Southgate is getting those as I call them, sucker points, all ready to go here, in case they need them. As you know, the format for getting in the playoffs this year is completely changed, where now you just can't play anybody and expect to get some free points there. They have to be somewhat legit points. If you notice, there are many teams in the state of Michigan are playing out-of-state teams just to get more points and whatnot there. I don't know if that's going to be a trend for years to come, but again, I see many teams in the state of Michigan playing out-of-state teams in Indiana, in Ohio, in Illinois, in Wisconsin. The list goes on and on and on. They want to get those big special points there because, again, there's a lot of leagues out here that really don't have the competency that you think they should have, but don't have there. And that makes a lot of difference this year when it comes down to the state awarding points to certain individual teams there.
Butch, finally, it's a big week for you and I because we both love wrestling, and there's a lot of things going on this week. The Raw season premiere tonight. You have the premiere of All Elite Wrestling on TNT on Wednesday, and then you have the premiere of SmackDown on Fox on Friday. Exciting times in the world of wrestling this week.
Well, exciting time to start off last weekend with, excuse me, boys and girls, with the Raw, the WrestleMania thing this past Sunday, and also Friday. I got it all with the quickness with Miz and Charlotte Flair. But now the rubber hits the road as the AEW will hit the road on Wednesday evening there. The first look at it, per se, for many people who have not seen it as yet. Now, I've seen it on YouTube, some of the specials that they have. Two pay-per-views so far there, and I was able to see one of them on the YouTube there, and I was very impressed with just with the matches that were led up into the actual pay-per-view there. But if it's anywhere where, as advertised, this is going to be a very hot little cycle here. And if you notice, NXT that was only be given 1 hour will now be on 2 hours now. Okay, so they let that cat out the bag here, and I said that on my podcast as well. That was not going to stay too long here for a deal, and it didn't. It took only 2 weeks, and they made up their mind. They have to be competitive on that particular. So this is going to be, if you love wrestling, every single week. And I haven't talked about Access yet with the Impact Wrestling on that particular channel either. I haven't talked about that, but that's still available there. You can see about wrestling about every day of the week now. Maybe except when it's on Tuesday there, and you might can go ahead on your on demand and watch Raw again for whatever day is worth there.
Butch, you got to go a little early tonight, so let's get your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
My thumbs down is for the Detroit Lions, and I thought very long and hard on this there, but Detroit Lions have done our station very poor by not letting us have representation in here. I do the very best I can, and thank God for some of my colleagues who stepped in my place, Leland Stein, Terry Moore, some others from Fox 2 who was giving me information left and right there. I thank them all, really do. Love them all. But people, when we did this show, when we decided to come to ESPN 1400, authenticity was the name of the game there. We wanted to give you guys out there who listen to our show the bread and butter of what goes on, not only in your own community, but what goes on in southeastern Michigan and around the state of Michigan there. We are pleasure and pleased to represent you because you don't get in that locker room. We do. And as Scott had named all the sporting events that's going to go on this weekend that he's involved in, that I'm involved in, we're pleased to get all that to you there and ask the questions that you may want to ask there. Detroit Lions didn't give us this opportunity this week there, and hopefully we can work something out long and hard where basically this will never happen again. We feel that the station of 1400 ESPN has representation. We carry their shows. We want representation in their house.
Absolutely, Butch. We are working on that as we speak. Butch Davis joining us on the game. Again, you can catch his show, Butch On Sports, Wednesdays and Sundays at the podcast page, Simply Butch2, that's TOO.podomatic.com, or on our website, thegamesportshow.com. Butch, have a great week. Hope you're feeling better, and we will talk to you Monday night here on ESPN 1400 for another
edition. Let me mention one more thing. Yeah, the Hall of Fame dinner is this Saturday. I'll be down there. And, of course, on Sunday night, I'll be at Joe Louis Arena. That's almost gutted out. Little Caesars Arena for the Red Wings home opener with Dallas there. So we still won't fail you. We'll still get you some information there.
Butch, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week, sir.
All right. Thank you.
All right. That's going to do it for this segment. We come back. We're going to be rejoined by Dave McCaig, and we'll also be joined by EJ Russell from Escanaba, Michigan for our roundtable. You are listening to The Game on ESPN 1400.
Fall is in the air, Tyler. You know what that means?
Yep, closeout pricing in all 2019s. And here at Rodenroth Motors, we have the largest selection of Chevy, Buick, and GMCs in the Eastern UP.
Along with the lowest lease payments and biggest discounts, make it the best time of year to buy your new car.
New 2019 Chevy Trax LT all-wheel drive with a window sticker of $27,485 has over $5,300 in discounts and rebates. Now only $22,185, and everybody qualifies for this deal.
Our number one selling vehicle, the Chevy Equinox all-wheel drive, and anybody can lease a new one for $282 per month with only $1,482 due at signing.
Wow, and everyone qualifies for that deal?
Yep, and even less if you're a current GM leasee or one of those other brands.
Don't forget, here at Rodenroth Motors, we have the largest selection of quality used cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs, all priced below market.
Guess fall is the best time of year to buy a new car.
Or used.
Come see why all roads lead to Rodenroth Motors for Chevy, Buick, and GMC, the number one volume dealer in the Eastern UP. Chevy, find new roads.
Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies wants you to know September 23rd through 29th is Falls Prevention Awareness Week. Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies has what you need to help prevent you or your loved ones from injuries.
Hi, this is Andrew Miller, manager of Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies. Did you know that every year about 2.8 million older adults are treated in emergency departments for injuries sustained from a fall? Most falls can be prevented or reduced by having the proper equipment in place. We have a selection of bath safety items to help keep you safe, such as shower and transfer benches, commodes, safety rails, and much more. Our knowledgeable and caring staff will work with you and help you pick the right equipment for your needs.
Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies is part of Arfstrom Pharmacy, your locally owned Health Mart pharmacy, located at 409 Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
You can catch podcasts of the game at thegamesportshow.com. Now let's get back to it with Scott Nason here on ESPN 1400.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason in studio, our broadcast engineer, Alyssa Bradley. We are rejoined by Dave McCaig, host of the Game Sports Show in Soo, Ontario, and co-host of this one. Kegger, thanks for joining us once again, sir.
Thank you, Scotty. Happy to be here and actually in studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Making the trek across the bridge. And, well, he's not making the trek across the Upper Peninsula, but he's joining us via phone. Our good friend, EJ Russell, joining us from Escanaba, Michigan, who is joining us each and every week for our roundtable. EJ, how you doing on this Monday night, sir?
What is, for me, a victory Monday in a very tough divisional game. But excited to be here. As always, happy to talk with you both. With you both, and ready to get right into it.
Well, let's get right into it. EJ, you are our newest contributor, so we want to have your topic first for our listeners that are unfamiliar with this show. We have many new listeners each and every week. The roundtable is more of a free-flowing portion of the show. We don't send our questions or our thoughts. We don't put any thought into it sometimes. It depends on the topic, but we talk about the world of sports and the things that you want to talk about. And so, EJ, you get first crack. What is on your mind in the world of sports tonight, my friend?
Well, and I don't know what you two got into earlier. Did you guys get into the Lions at all?
The Lions, yes. Butch and I talked about them briefly.
Well, here's the question I want to pose to the round table. Detroit Lions are currently sitting at 2-2, as well as many other teams out there. So I want to ask you guys, at 2-2, currently 500, Which of those teams right now do you think are you're most confident in to make the playoffs? And I do want to ask each of you gentlemen, let's look at these Detroit Lions for a minute. Are they for real? Are they a pretender? They had an opportunity to beat the Kansas City Chiefs over the weekend in what was a very, very close game. Played them tight the whole way. Matthew Stafford, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Are the Lions for real, or are they a contender? And which one of these 2-2 teams looks like they're going to come out and make the playoff?
Dave, I'll go to you first. We do have a little addendum there, EJ. The Lions actually 2-1-1. Remember, they had that tie at Arizona, so almost a 500 team, but we can include them, I think, in this one, Dave. Your thought?
Are they for real? That's the question I'm asking there.
Okay, well, let's go to both questions. Are the Lions for real, Dave? And of the 2-2 teams, which ones are you looking at as maybe the most dangerous?
You know, yesterday I was watching the game at one of our proud establishments that we're connected with the Game Sports Show in Soo, Ontario. And I'll say right now that I like what the Lions are putting on the field, and I'm a fan of Patricia. I don't know if I'm making some Lions fans out there squeal or get mad at me there. I apologize, but I'm a fan of Patricia. I like him back there as a coach. I think it's a good fit. And honestly, I like the offense. I think Matt Stafford's really underrated. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. I'm not saying that he's, going to throw the numbers of Patrick Mahomes or anything of such, who he coincidentally played on Sunday. But you know what? Matt Stafford is a good quarterback, and they have a good team. I like Johnson at back. I like Galladay. I'm a huge fan of Galladay, actually, and I love saying the name. I don't know. I think it's one of those names.
It's a fun name.
It is a fun name to say. And you know what? Their defense has improved as well as their O-line has improved. And I like the overall improvement of the Lions, and I think they are for real. Are they a Super Bowl contender? No, I don't think they're going to be Super Bowl contenders this year. Are they a wild card team? Yes, I think they're going to make the playoffs this year, and that's coming out of my mouth. And I have been a firm believer of the Lions going into this year since day one in the offseason. And ever since the last season ended, I knew the Lions would come around to a turnaround this year. And 2-1-1 start is a good start for the Lions. You know what? The game against Kansas City yesterday, Kansas City is one of the remaining 3 teams that are undefeated. Kansas City is for real, okay? Patrick Mahomes has got weapons, and he's a weapon in himself, okay? And his hair is a weapon, his arm's a weapon. The guy is just an absolute weapon all around. So I'm going to say right now, Kansas City is for real. So them losing to Kansas City is not a bad thing, okay? I know the beginning games, everyone's saying, they didn't play against teams that are those contenders as of yet. But the big thing I want to see what the Lions do is win those divisional matchups. You win those divisional matchups, that is where you're going to cement yourself and go further. Because I really do think, though, EJ, to go to your question, the Lions are for real. And overall in the game against Kansas City, they showed that they are, despite the loss. And I think they'll continue to ascend in the right direction.
Yeah, with me, the Lions, I always have a bit of caution when getting excited about them due to, 40 some odd years of frustration. And granted, I was very little when some of those games were going on, but I can remember back as far as a very young man. This is going to date myself. Eddie Murray missing a kick in San Francisco, one of the playoffs, and just lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of losses. Now, yesterday's game, in terms of Detroit Lions losses, which there are many and many memories, this is probably one of their better losses. I hate to say it. And, that shows a sign of a franchise that hasn't had a lot of success. When you're content, maybe some fans giddy. I talked to Butch about many people I talked about. They were excited about the Lions. Again, am I a little bit excited about the Lions? Yes. Do I see some good things happening? Absolutely. When they gave up that 100-yard fumble, when Johnson fumbled at the 1-yard line, nobody whistled it dead. They picked it up. The old Lions probably would have rolled over and died right there. That's it. They're done. They came back. They had a chance to win that game. Yep. They contained Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes didn't throw a touchdown pass, but you have him 4th and 8. It's probably as loud as that Ford Field has been for a Lions game in recent memory, and maybe ever since they've been in there in 2000. And they just couldn't make the play. That game was there for the taking. So, again, do I see some positive things with the Lions? Absolutely. They seem to have a lot of toughness. They can run the ball now with Johnson getting 26 carries. I mean, when's the last time that's happened for the Lions? Barry Sanders, maybe? When they weren't giving him the ball
Reggie
enough.
Bush when he came over.
Reggie Bush, exactly. That one game he had that was good. But again, they're in a tough division. I like what you said, Dave, about winning their division games. They're going to have a bunch of them coming up. They have at Green Bay after the bye week.
Huge.
They have home to Minnesota. They have all the games twice. They have all the teams. All those are good teams. Minnesota, after yesterday, some people are questioning their offense. There's your 2-2 team that who knows where they're going. But again, yes, the Lions looked good. They should have won that game, but I hesitate to get too excited about them because we've seen it far too many times. You never know when it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. And with the Lions, who knows? Maybe the New England mentality, it won't happen. EJ Russell, a lot of on the Lions. We didn't get as much to the 2-2 teams, so the floor is yours.
Well, I think that what's important to look, Scott, and I think you really nailed the point here, they're running the football. And this is a team that has struggled to be multi-dimensional on offense over the last couple of years. I think you guys nailed it on the head with the Reggie Bush comparison there. I think that Kerryon Johnson is the first, or one of the first, running backs to rush for 100 yards for the Detroit Lions, closing in on since Barry Sanders. They've really struggled to have a good clicking offense. I think that they're doing the right things. Matthew Stafford is minimizing his errors. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions yesterday. That big 0 in the INT column, that's a big number in football. Okay? But I think what's more important is the way that the Lions have been playing on the defensive end. Matt Patricia is a very defensive-minded coach, very well known for the pencil in the hat as a defensive coordinator, and I'm emphasizing defensive coordinator with the New England Patriots. But this is a team that limited Patrick Mahomes to no touchdown passes yesterday, and that's something that needs to be pointed out.
Yeah.
They are showing a lot of potential and doing a lot of the right things in order to get there. Anytime you can get 125 total rushing yards out of your running back, it's going to be a good day. That opens up the passing game. The one thing that concerns me with Kerryon Johnson, his longest run was only 14 yards. Now, if they can pop a few of those big plays, I think they're going to get some wins that maybe not necessarily deserving of. I think that the Chicago Bears are a better team in that division right now. I don't think without that big play, home run hit potential that they're going to win the division, but I see the Lions being a potential wild card candidate, and very much like you, Scott, I say that on edge because you never know what the Lions are going to do. And as somebody that's been living in Michigan for 5+ years now, you never know what you're going to get. This is a team that has found ways to mess up important moments. So nobody knows what to really expect from them. I do think that they are for real-ish, and they have the potential to make a wild card berth. To me, the best 2-2 team right now that you can expect to see in the playoffs come the end of the year, I think, has to be Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to be sitting down there getting Melvin Gordon back, ending his holdout the other evening. I just don't see them continuing to struggle. I see them jumping Oakland, Denver, a very disappointing 0-4 start there. But I think that they're probably the best 2-2 team. The AFC South is probably the most interesting division right now with every team
all
2-2.
2-2.
I think Houston's still the class act of that division. I don't expect to see Tennessee sitting at the bottom of that come the end of the year. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts, I think, are the worst 2 teams in that division. Everyone's overhyping Gardner Minshew right now. This is a guy that is an incredible character, okay? And people love exploring the kind of person that he is, well known for doing his warm-ups and his jock strap and kind of clowning. This is a guy that threw 19 of 33 yesterday. Yes, he didn't throw any picks. He was sacked 5 times and he only threw for 213 yards. That's not something that you can replicate week in and week out. When you get to better opponents, this is a team that's going to struggle. So I think that the Los Angeles Chargers are the best 2-2 team right now. I'll toot my own horn a little bit, go Cleveland Browns. I think they played exceptionally well, and if they continue to get the kind of effort that we did this week, they might contend for the best 2-2 team there. But they got to continue to do things, continue to establish the run. But let's not overhype Jacksonville, and that's one thing I wanted to point out today.
Dave, let's go to you for your topic. We have time for a couple more topics, maybe even a bonus one. So, Dave McCaig, what is on your mind tonight in the world of sports? Somehow I have a hunch what it is.
Yeah, I usually like changing it up, but I think you're going to be right. You know what starts this season? brother, it starts. The NHL season gets underway this week. The Leafs have their home opener against the Senators on Wednesday. Apologize, yeah. Yes. And they just wrapped up the preseason, and things are just getting all shaped up. People got sent on waivers, including Nick Patan. Yeah, I'm speaking Toronto right now, but just examples that a lot of players went on waivers. Sven Barchi is one as well. There was a lot of good talent that went on that waiver wire, went back down to the AHL. Everyone's having their roster shaped up to 23, getting ready for the upcoming season for puck drop. And obviously there's been a lot of rumors in Toronto that John Tavares is going to be named the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is to be the first captain since the great legend Dion Phaneuf, as you would say, in Toronto. But I want to take my question and gear it towards the upcoming hockey season. And what is everyone most excited for in the National Hockey League this year? What is going to be your surprising team? What are you looking out for getting ready for puck drop this year?
Dave, I'm going to be pretty brief on this. We talked about the Wings with Butch Davis talking about, some of their young players. It's going to be a very interesting season for them. I'm watching to see if some of these draft picks, it looks like Grand Rapids is going to have a very loaded team with all the draft picks that the Wings have had over the past few years. They sent their top draft pick from this past draft, the defenseman from Germany, whose name's escaping me. He's going to be playing in Grand Rapids. But, this is a big year for head coach Jeff Blashill and for new general manager Steve Yzerman. I mean, I don't think that there's going to be as much latitudes or leeway if they have a season where they don't make the playoffs. Coach Blashill has impressed general manager Steve Yzerman as far as how he's handled things, but it's a big year for him, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Wings do. I mean, I think if they make the playoffs, that's a very good season. But I said it before, I'm going to say it again. I think this is the year Canada wins a Stanley Cup. All signs are pointing towards the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. I know as a Leafs fan, Dave, you're salivating at that thought. 1967.
Just like you as a Lions fan,
well,
though.
I got a little more salivation there, but we're in the same boat there. You look at this team, you look at how it's been built, you look at just where they're at right now. I mean, I'm worried about their goaltending. I just don't know if that's the guy to take.
Freddie's the guy.
I don't know. And that's where I hesitate to pick the Maple Leafs. I mean, at this point, he hasn't proved. Granted, I understand there's some defensive issues in the past and even this season, but I don't know if he's the guy that's going to lift the cup. You need a guy back there that's going to win you the cup, and I just don't know if it's him. But I think someone from the country of Canada, a team, is going to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup in July next year. I don't even know how long the season goes. Is it June this year?
Yep.
Okay, June. Yep. I don't know if Winnipeg maybe. Who knows where it's going to be, but it's going to be in Canada for the first time since 1993. You heard it here first. I'm not going to say it's going to be the Leafs. So I guess that gives me like there's 7 teams in Canada? It gives me like a 1 in 4 chance. So I like my odds. EJ, what's your thoughts on the NHL heading into the regular season opener here in a couple nights?
I think that there are a few teams that I'm excited to watch this year. I really want to see how Carolina continues to build off of the successful run they had in last year's playoffs. This is a team that I actually really like this next fact here. They've picked Stahl to become their newest captain. That's the second time that this team's been captained by one of the Stahl brothers. And I think that that's something that Carolina fans can kind of rally behind. But that's a team, the bunch of little jerks. Let's see how they continue to progress off of their postseason success. I think as far as the Toronto Maple Leafs are concerned, on paper, they look to be the team that should have the best odds to bring a Stanley Cup back to Canada. But let's talk about one important factor. They still got to find a way to get around the Boston Bruins because that's the team that has been in their way every single time they've made a run at it. So I think the Boston Bruins are a team that you can expect to see back in a championship contention. Toronto is going to be there calling for them. I think if you're Toronto, I think you want to have your playoff series at some point go through Boston. That's a monkey you got to get off your back. Because if that doesn't happen, there are going to be fans that are going to call for saying, hey, they didn't beat Boston. They still can't get over that hump. And that's something that is important to the game. I think that they need to find a way to get beyond the Boston Bruins. I think the Bruins have a little bit better goaltending. But I think that the Toronto Maple Leafs have done the right things, signing the right players, getting them at fair values, and that's what we were talking about with the Mitch Marner thing when Dave brought that topic up a few weeks ago. As long as they can get the kind of play from their role players that they should have, and they can find a way to get past Boston Bruins, I don't see why they can't be the team to hoist the Stanley Cup.
Dave McCaig, your thoughts on the NHL before we go to our final break?
You know, I will say one thing about Freddie Anderson. I think he is the guy.
Okay.
And I'll say I believe in Freddie. You know, he's been nails back there for the last couple of years. I know he's been criticized a lot, you know, in terms of making that extra step. But if you look at his stats of last year's playoff loss to Boston, if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't have even made it to Game 7, in my honest opinion. But the Leafs have made some great moves, and I'm speaking of the entirety of the National Hockey League here, but I'll stick to Toronto for one point. You know, Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Lingurin are on the team. Former Greyhound Rasmus Sandin is on the roster to start opening night, it seems like. And I'm pretty excited to see these young guys in action. This is a young man's game. This is what you're going to start seeing more of, is these young guys getting opportunities because of the speed of the game, the way the game has modernized and everything. So I think Sandin is going to get given a fair shake and a good opportunity. Do I think he plays the full season in Toronto? Honestly, one of Lingurin and Sandin will play the year in Toronto. The other one will not play the full year in Toronto. And that's my prediction. That is an area of Toronto that needs to be addressed, in my opinion, is defense. But they did address it. They have Tyson Barrie, Muzzin, and Riley leading the way up there on the D-core. I still think they need another 5th or 6th defenseman that is going to be tight on the shutdown mode. And I think that's going to be Dubas's goal by the time the deadline rolls around. Offensively is nothing to touch. But the overall in the National Hockey League, EJ, I think it's very interesting that you brought up the Carolina Hurricanes, because that was one of the teams I was thinking of. However, the team that I'm going to say are two teams. One that's going to go in opposite direction is going to be the New York Islanders. They will not replicate the same success that they had last year. I'm going to say that right now. And no, I'm not saying that because of Lou Lamoriello being the general manager there. I love Barry Trotz, and I'm a big fan of Lou Lamoriello. I just think last year they achieved a lot, and a big part of that was Robin Lehner, former Greyhound Robin Lehner. And Robin Lehner is now in the Chicago Blackhawks with Corey Crawford. Yes, they got Semyon Varlamov in there, but we all know how consistent he's been with the Colorado Avalanche after being traded there from Washington for the last handful of years or so. So I think that was a big part in their success, was that goaltending rotation, the chemistry there between Leonard and Kress. So I don't think they're going to have that same success. The other team that I think is going to be a surprise in the National Hockey League, due to a lot of people's thinking is going to be a quote unquote surprise, is the Florida Panthers.
Ooh, Panthers.
I'm going to say right now the Florida Panthers in that loaded Atlantic division. Okay, you got Toronto, you got Montreal, you got Ottawa, Boston, you have the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Detroit Red Wings. Sorry, Detroit fans, you're going to enjoy their backseat for a little while, okay, this year. But overall, Florida is going to make a good run. So when you think about it, Montreal was just a handful of points or so behind Toronto last year. There's another team that I don't think is going to have the same success if I had to choose another team next to the Islanders. But they're still going to be a very good hockey team, and they're apparently in the takes to try to get Jack Johnson from Pittsburgh. So Montreal's trying to improve that team. So Montreal and Florida are going to be teams battling for that wild card. In your top three, you have Toronto, Boston, Tampa. So who do you think is going to finish ahead of Toronto and Boston? Tampa. I think Tampa Bay still will finish about a handful of points ahead of Toronto. So you are going to see another first-round matchup of the Boston Bruins and Toronto. Toronto will have to get past the Boston Bruins if they want to make the Cup Finals. That is how it's got to go. The curse of 2013. The last 2 years, if you look what Washington did to Pittsburgh, and they won the cup after they beat Pittsburgh in the second round. You have to face your fears. You have to face where you've been cursed. So I think Toronto will have to do that. But overall, I'm going to say Florida's going to be a wild card team this year. I think they have the chance. They have a healthy goalie in Bobrovsky, a new coach in Joel Quenneville. They made some great moves in the offseason, and I'm expecting a big year from Barkov. So I think Florida is going to be the team that finishes fourth in that division and one of the top wild card spots.
We're going to take our final break on the game. When we come back, we have time for one more topic and our thumbs up and thumbs down. That's coming up next on the game here on ESPN 1400.
Overacting? Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace there's nothing. Underacting. Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English dead. It doesn't take a theater director to tell the difference between overacting and underacting, but it's not as easy knowing whether you're overinsured or underinsured. A low rate isn't a good thing if everything you hold dear, your family, your home, your future, isn't protected properly. That's why you have Farm Bureau of Michigan agent Dean Garlinghouse to take the drama out of making sure you have the coverage you need. Insurance is Dean's Life. Trust your future to Dean Garlinghouse to avoid poor coverage.
Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him, Horatio. A fellow of infinite jest, a most excellent fancy.
Oy. So you can get on with your life. Call Dean Garlinghouse at Farm Bureau Insurance today.
O'Connor's, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
Big fall doings in September at O'Connor's of Pickford, where Ram Power Days are on. Want to lease a new 2019 Ram Bighorn Quad Cab 4x4? O'Connor's delivers with a low mileage lease for just $319 a month plus tax with approved credit. You pay just $9.99 at signing. Ram Power Days all month long. Get the deal you want on the Ram you dream about at O'Connor's of Pickford.
O'Connor's, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
Jeep Adventure Days are on all month at O'Connor's of Pickford. Get a new Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk with up to $6,750 in rebates and incentives. Or enjoy an ultra-low mileage lease on a new 2019 Jeep Compass. It's just $275 a month plus tax with good credit, and you pay just $550 at signing. Jeep Adventure Days all month long. Get the deal you want on the Jeep you dream about at O'Connor's of Pickford.
O'Connor's, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
Let's get back to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Let's get back to the game on ESPN 1400.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason joined by Dave McCaig and EJ Russell, continuing our roundtable discussion. Gentlemen, we have time for one more topic. It's my turn to throw one out. EJ, I'll give you first crack. And, well, a very interesting piece of legislation was signed today in California. As California Governor Gavin Newsom signed legislation to allow college athletes to be paid for the use of their name, likeness, and image. Senate Bill 206, commonly referred to as the Fair Pay to Play Act, now makes it illegal for California universities to revoke an athlete's scholarship or eligibility for taking money. Under the new law, schools will not pay athletes, but athletes can hire agents to seek out business deals for them. The bill will not go into effect until 2023. California schools and the NCAA have long opposed the bill, which makes it impossible for schools to follow the NCAA's amateurism rules. The NCAA sent a letter to Newsom earlier this month calling the state's legislation unconstitutional. LeBron James aboard this one with the governor as he praised the decision to sign the bill into law in a tweet today. Shortly after the bill was signed, the NCAA issued a statement in response, quote, as membership organization, the NCAA agrees changes are needed to continue to support student athletes, but improvement needs to happen on a national level through the NCAA's rule-making process. Unfortunately, this new law already is creating confusion for current and future student athletes, coaches, administrators, and campuses, and not just in California. We will consider next steps in California while our members move forward with ongoing efforts to make adjustments to NCAA name, image, and likeness rules that are both realistic in modern society and tied to higher education. So, EJ, Dave, what are your thoughts on this rule, a state rule in California that could have big implications towards college athletes all around the country and in the future?
Well, I think my answer is pretty simple here. I think that as far as looking at what California's done, I think that they did an exceptional job of wording this properly, okay? But at the end of the day, it does not matter what California says because the NCAA is an almighty, powerful, air quote, God
yes, they are.
That dominates the college sports platform. And until they accept the decision that's been made in the state of California, these players can go seek endorsement deals. I think that was a great point. They're allowed to not get paid for their athletic, but if they want to go and do endorsements, I don't see a problem with that. The schools make a bunch of money off selling their jerseys. I have no issue with this. Many people years ago remember if you search Johnny Manziel, the number 2 Texas A&M jersey came up. And that was something that I thought was kind of foul play. I'm all for players being able to seek their own outside endorsement deals. So long as it is not affecting the game. But until the NCAA finds a way to allow these athletes to get paid and redefines their definition of amateurism and student athlete, it really doesn't matter what any state does, and that's my opinion.
Dave, your thoughts?
keeping it brief, I'll say that I'm for the student athletes actually getting endorsed and getting paid, but to a certain extent. Okay, remember LeBron James came right out of high school and he joined the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he was getting deals for endorsements out of his rear end. And you know what? He skipped the college ranks, went to the NBA.
Worked out for him pretty well.
Worked out really good for him. So. But you got to think about it. This is a business, okay? And NCAA lost out on having LeBron jerseys sold or having some school flourish on getting LeBron James there. And obviously, I like the route that if you're a superstar, much like LeBron James is and still currently, and he was at that time up to today, that if you want to skip going the school route, I'm all for that if you want, as long as you know that you're going to be making big bucks and that you can stay in the right state of mind, unlike Antonio Brown, okay? So you make sure you make those proper life decisions. But I really try to influence when I was coaching or when I talk to young athletes in Soo, Ontario, that they should really look at going that college route. And now NCAA in California is something that we don't have a lot of our athletes particularly go to a whole bunch, but everyone should go that school route. And if they do, I think they should have a right to be able to get some more profit for themselves and their family, okay? And hiring agents is a good step. This bill being passed, even though it's a couple of years from now in 2023, is going to be a good change for the NCAA. And hopefully everyone buys into it, because overall, this is still a business. Okay, you want players to go to college. You want individuals to get graduated and grow at your program. And ultimately, when you have stars graduate from your program, you're going to make money. And the NCAA will make money. They already make a lot of money, but there's never enough money when it comes to business. So I'll say right now, this is a start, and it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, I like
Dave, I want to ask one quick question to Dave, and Scott, you can address this too. Do you think the agents should have to go through a vetting process?
No. I'll say no, because the athletes will choose who they want to go to, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah, I agree. And my thoughts overall is very rarely, and those that know me politically know that me and Governor Gavin Newsom agree on basically nothing. Well, we agree on this one right here. I think it's the right decision, but I like what EJ said about the all-encompassing, the all-powerful NCAA. It's much like political or just views in this country. You have a very powerful central government in Washington, this being the NCAA, and then you have the states trying to do their own things in states' rights. And we've been fighting and arguing about that in this country since the beginning of time, or the beginning of our country, I should say. And so while I think this is a good idea, I'm a free market guy. I think if somebody can cash in on their name, not the NCAA, where it doesn't affect their, eligibility or anything like that, I think it's a good thing. But boy, it has a long way to go. This is the first step. We'll see if there's any other steps after this, but until the NCAA has their monopoly broken down a bit, then this is all just going to be noise and nothing else. Let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down. We want a couple extra minutes for this tonight, guys. I will start thumbs up to my color commentator on Saturday, a guy I've known for a while that I've heard on the radio, Pat Bennon, who did the Soo High game with myself on Saturday. Great to work with him. Does a great job with Dave Watson doing color. It was fun to work with Pat as well. And thumbs down, Brad Osmus. Boy, I've said that a few times over the years. LA Angels of Anaheim. We told you this was not the guy to pick. Fired after 1 year as manager of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Good luck, Brad. And I'm not just saying that sarcastically. EJ Russell, your thumbs up and thumbs down, sir?
Well, I think that you've worked with other pretty good color commentators in the past here, Scott, so let's not overhype these other gentlemen.
I don't know who you speak of, sir. Larry Pozzebon, yes. Now, EJ, you did a great job as well.
Yeah, thank you. No, thumbs up for the week. I want to do some local sports here. Escanaba Eskimos beating Kingsford in football, 31-8 over the weekend. Great job for them getting the win there. Thumbs down for the week in sports. I got to give it to Vontez Burfict. This is a guy with a nasty history. The NFL has issued its first ever ban for the rest of the season. He is suspended until the end of the year. I hope that they don't do that in the idea that it's going to be arbitrated against to a lower penalty, but thumbs down to that. And then before we get going, Scott, I got a little challenge for you for this weekend, so I'll let Dave give his thumbs up and thumbs down.
All right, Dave McCaig, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
You know, I'm going to go the thumbs up route to the NHL season getting started this week. Absolutely. And I'm giving 2 thumbs up, no thumbs down this week. I like to keep things positive.
You're a positive guy,
I
Dave.
try to be as best as possible. The Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds.
Yeah.
4-0 going into this weekend, playing both Saturday and Sunday. Big game against Sudbury. I'm looking forward to that game. They got a good prospect there in Sudbury especially. So definitely make sure you get out, fans, to support the Greyhounds and all the local sports going on, including the Sioux College Athletics Hockey. It's thumbs up sports to all Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario.
Yeah, we'll cover it on the GameSportsShow.com. EJ, what is your challenge? I'm intrigued.
Now, we love college football on the show.
Yes.
And we talk about it as often as we can. And we get the fortunate time of year where my Ohio State Buckeyes, the Ohio State University, gets to square off against the number 25 Michigan State Spartans. So I would like to propose some form of a friendly wager to you. I'll let you decide the outcome. But I think we should put a little something on the line here. What do you say there, Scott?
As long as I can get Ohio State, I'm all for it. I have no chance. Michigan State has no chance to win that game.
No.
None.
I'll take you on that.
You got to hold your loyalties here, buddy.
I'll take you on that. I'm not even a Michigan State fan. I'll go Michigan State will be.
Can you give me a point spread, EJ? I need a point spread on this one. I'm not going straight up. That's ridiculous.
What's this? I'll give you 13 and a half.
I'm going to look at the official point spread right now. Or do they have official point spreads in the NCAA? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
Right now it's a 20-point spread. If you give me 17, I'll take it.
To keep it fair, I'll give you 17 and a half.
Okay.
And what's the loser got to do here?
Oh, boy. Dave, you got 30 seconds.
Loser
does
EJ
what?
Russell has to put a Detroit Lions jersey on and say something that you want of him, of the Detroit Lions.
Okay, what about me? What do I have to wear?
Ohio
State?
You got to wear
Ohio State.
Scarlet and gray. You got to don the scarlet and gray, buddy.
That's easy for me, EJ, because I do it 1 week a year when they play Michigan. So I like the challenge. Go State, go Buckeyes. Going to be fun. EJ Russell, Dave McCaig joining us here on the roundtable. Real quick.
OHIO, that's all I got.
I thought he was like we had more. Yeah, exactly.
No,
It threw me off there. Want to thank you, Dave and EJ. Butch Davis. Want to thank our guests, Rob Gallanger and Scott Menard, our broadcast engineer, Alyssa Bradley. That's going to do it for another edition of The Game. You can find this podcast on the podcast page, thegamesportshow.com, and we'll be back with you next Monday night for another edition of The Game here on ESPN 1400.
Thanks for listening to The Game here on ESPN 1400 WKNW, Sault Ste. Marie sports leader. Check us out next Monday at 6 for the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. You can hear the podcast of the show and other broadcasts at thegamesportshow.com.